just find the agenda.
Okay.
I didn't want to have to switch. Got it.
Okay. All right, 6 o'clock. Call our meeting to order. Open the pledge of allegiance. Starting with our council activity reports, I don't have any formal meetings as far as committees or anything are concerned. Tarek and I did sit in on a meeting with CenterPoint Energy and representatives from
Northern Gas.
Northern Gas, thank you. I was going to say Nature Energy, but that is woefully wrong. Northern Gas and CenterPoint Energy, the pet food manufacturer that's looking at locating here in town is in need of additional supply. And in an earlier meeting, CenterPoint promised us that they could meet their need, and now they are backtracking on that. There's how I can kindly phrase it to be politically correct. So we're working with the owner of the company that wants to locate here and trying to get some additional help on figuring out how we can get CenterPoint to stand by what they had said earlier. Otherwise, their company's still looking at coming here. They're looking at hopefully breaking ground next year at this point once we can get the gas issue resolved. So again, it's a pet food manufacturer, so it should all be good. Otherwise, that's all I have. I am having surgery on Friday, so then it's Jean's show for a few weeks after that, folks. Buckle up.
I'm just gonna change everything.
Yeah, I know. I'll come back and
It'd be crazy.
I'll be sitting over there or something.
You'll be fine.
Anarchy.
Neil?
Yes, I think we were all at a joint library meeting, and the biggest thing there is where to build the library. And there's quite a few options, but it's still nothing definite. And we are committed and do want to do it, but we got to have the right place to do it, build it. And other than that, I had nothing but an hour ago, the Public Works meeting, and that was short and sweet. Talked about stabilizing the bank on Lake Avenue Bridge there, and a street light on that intersection, and a few other topics that are ongoing.
All right. Megan?
I had the library meeting as well, and I was at the LMC annual conference in Rochester, which was good. There were some good speakers, and always good to see some familiar faces, so
How were the classes?
they weren't bad. They were pretty good this year.
Okay. Jean?
Just the joint library meeting, and we had our first downtown organizational meeting.
How did that one go?
Good, it's gonna be interesting.
Okay.
It's a nice.
Paul?
Just a joint library meeting. That's all I have to report.
On to our department heads. Ron?
Okay,
I'm
thank
sorry.
you.
Oh, no, you're good. My brain's confused. You're good. Go.
Okay, reminder to residents, the concerts in the park start this Thursday, the 11th, and it will run for 6 weeks then. Also, the park shelters reservations, if anybody wants to reserve them, they can come into City Hall here anytime. The compost use and the RV dump are seeing some very good usage. Just like to remind residents to, again, utilize the donation boxes that are there. That's how those two items are supported. The lead inventory letters that everybody has received, we've got quite a number of them in, but if anybody still hasn't, please submit them, or if you're having trouble, please give us a call and we will help you out. Starting tomorrow for about the next week, you will see a crew in town cleaning sewer lines, or a sewer jetting crew will be here. Also, seal coating will be coming up probably in August sometime. And out at the airport, fuel usage so far this year to date, we're at 11,500 gallons. So that's right on track with about where we were last year.
Any questions for Ron? All right, Tarek.
All right, yeah, as Neil said, we had Public Works just now, and then before that, the ad hoc library board meeting. And then, of course, we were on the call with the gas companies. And then lastly, with Megan at the LMC conference in Rochester, I think the most interesting or one of the most interesting things that I think came out of it is, as we're discussing the cannabis regulation here, there was some talk early on, if you all remember, about licensing or allowing municipals to be able to have a license. And there's also a regulation that says every community within a certain size needs to license at least one. The interesting thing now, the new development now, is that if this one entity is a municipal entity, that does not count as a one, you'll still have to license one. So if you license a muni, you'll have to license someone else as well. So that was interesting.
All right, any questions for Tara? Right. Gentlemen, I know one of you's itching for our public forum. No? I know. All right, then we'll move on to the consent agenda. Includes the minutes on page 1, vouchers off of our update.
It says there aren't any minutes.
Those are the minutes that we're voting on.
None?
None.
Voting on none.
The vouchers totaling $424,925.83 off of our update, gambling permit, and the street closure for Night to Unite. Is there a motion to approve, or does anybody want something pulled?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Hersberg. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Soini. Any other discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None? Motion carries. All right, we will jump forward to new business C so that these fine folks from the airport can be on their merry way. Otherwise, you are welcome to stick around. I know everybody loves watching bureaucracy in action. So we're looking at hosting our friends of the airport are looking at hosting the fly-in again, and here to ask for the city's support in some things that we've done in the past, and frankly, I don't see a problem with doing it again. But if one of you wants to maybe give us a quick update on what you're doing, and then
Sure.
maybe I'll look to Ron for anything else, but
Thank you very much for your support last year.
can I just ask that you go to the microphone so we can hear you?
We want to thank you for the support last year and ask for the support again this year. A couple of things we were hoping to do differently. I included some maps of the airport layout, and what we're hoping to do is move the fencing a little bit. We're not having a band this year in the evening, and what we're asking for is if we can change the fence layout so that, very similar to last year, but so that the beer garden isn't specifically just boxed in. So we'd run a fence from the field to the road, and then the road would be our gate, and then from the road on the east side over to Hangar 99, and then along the back of Hangar 99 across to, I don't remember what the hangar number is there, but.
Oh, John's here.
John's hangar.
I think it's over.
And that, and then that basically be it. Of course, the show line will be fenced off, the same as it was last year. Allow people to mingle around and enjoy the show with a beverage if they choose. Otherwise, all of the other asks are essentially the same. We won't need a generator this year, as we're not having the band again. But we are asking for use of the airport grounds, the ability to have some of the folks that fly in like to do underwing camping for the evening, so they can stay after the show. Obviously, if they've had a beverage, they can't be flying out again. So. And then the volunteers as well, if we could have camping available for them. We'll be doing some cleanup after the show, and that's basically it for the ask.
Did I hear you correct that you do not need the generator?
We did not need the generator.
That was on our sheet as a proposed ask, so I'll just make note that that's not necessary. Ron, anything else from a public works standpoint?
No, but I don't know how many, maybe you could just real quick, how many shows you're gonna have?
I think there's 8. There's 7 performers, and one of them is doing 2 shows. So he'll do an acrobatic act for his first show, and then after some of the other performers go, he'll do it's called a dead stick landing.
No, I think the Friends of the Airport have done a marvelous job in putting this show on, and just the Friends of the Airport themselves, what they've done for the airport it's been extraordinary. It's really come back.
I agree with that. It was just a couple of years ago where we were having a discussion about whether or not we should continue funding it or just sort of let it go, and I'm really glad to see that the work's been put into it and really bringing it back around. I'm really happy that that's the way it's gone. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Paul, from a public safety standpoint, anything we should talk about?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I had talked with Matt, and we kind of talked about the idea and the concept very similar to Town and Country Days. I'm just curious, on the map, it shows stage.
Yeah, I put in we put in last year's map.
Okay. I was just curious as like, and I know you guys said you weren't doing that, so I wasn't really worried about that. I guess the only thing I'm curious about is where are you guys gonna put the signs as far as like the no alcohol beyond this point?
At the entrance gate, basically the road.
Okay.
Last year we had movable barriers there and two folks standing there. So there'll be no alcohol beyond this point at that location. We could put some as well over by Hangar 99. And then at the ramp.
Okay. Yeah, I guess my only ask would be is that we make sure we've got clear signage and kind of a clear defined area where you guys want that to go. Obviously, anything off of airport property, presents a problem. So I mean, just as long as we make sure we've got clear signage that says no alcohol past this point, I'm not expecting any problems, so.
Okay. Yep, we can do that.
Any other questions or comments from the council or anyone?
I just got one comment. At the Out-of-Towners are expecting this every year now. So, they don't even ask if they're having it, they want to know what date.
That's a good thing.
Good to hear.
And just so you guys know, we'll probably have just a single officer that's just there to kind of mingle and be with the crowd, so, probably won't be anything that we're gonna like charge for, like we would for an event, so, just so you guys know.
Thank you. With that, I'd entertain a motion then, as stated on the action sheet, noting that we don't need to include use of the city's generator.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Soini to approve Resolution 24-20, authorizing the retail on-sale liquor license to dispense intoxicating liquor at a community festival, the air show, the beer garden, with no fencing, use of the city lots in the airport view court for parking, allow camping within city limits, and post no parking on Veterans Drive and Airport View Court streets, contingent on receipt of the insurance verification. Is there a second?
Second.
So, heard it from Brick first, sorry, Paul, so Megan gets it. Motion by Soini, seconded by Brick, as stated with the exception of the generator. Any further discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None? Motion carries. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time. Thank you. All right, going back up to old business A, page 8, the benzene contamination. The city heard from Bar Engineering a few weeks ago, along with Mark Tuso, who raised some concerns. Mark also sent a letter. I guess I meant to check my email. I don't remember seeing it emailed to me, but it was published as an editorial in the newspaper a couple of weeks ago. I've read that. I have not had the ability yet to sit down with a ruler and go through line by line the Bar report, but I've at least skimmed most of it. How do we want to go from here? I think Bar's report sort of suggests that we're done. Everything is safe. The systems that we have in place are working, and they will continue to work. As I understand Mark's concerns, the question is they're working, but for how long? And how much are you going to pay for the next 100 or so years to make sure that they're still working?
So I have an issue with this report.
Yep.
With the regulatory levels of the federal and Minnesota, it shows levels of 1 one chemical on here that is disturbing, and that's the benzene. Parts per million or billion or whatever it is, what the threshold is. And the part that concerns me the most is how they come up with these numbers. And how does it affect an average person? So say he's a 180-pound male, and these numbers are within the legal threshold. Well, what does that do to a 30-pound 5-year-old? Or a middle schooler? Okay, those thresholds are gonna be a lot more damaging to those individuals who consume the water with these chemicals in there. And I think that we need to be a little bit more clear on the damage that can be done. That's why I'm not happy with this report, because I don't feel it's fair to put the younger people in town at risk to satisfy a report. So, myself personally, I would reject this report. Just because, well, I've had some personal experience with an infant that came down with leukemia, and you can't pinpoint if it was benzene, but it doesn't help. So I think we need to get a lot greater understanding of where this is going to be. I don't really want to sound an alarm that our drinking water is not safe, because it is, but I want to make this more apparent that what's that going to do to the future of the children that can be consuming anywhere up to 10 times the amount of the regulated level.
My comments is this should have been cleaned up years ago. We, no matter what, it's still there. Even if they say it's safe now, it's still there. And I think we push for getting it cleaned up, then it's done.
Yeah, it still is moving.
Yeah.
And I read a little bit that there could be more than 1 or 2 additional sites that have plums of their own, that one day when they migrate with the big plum, then what?
We should have another well done. We've already shut.
So, I guess I wish Mark was here to answer questions, but he says there's new ways to clean up a site that isn't where you have to dig down 100 feet and haul out all the soil and move out 20 homes, and
Right?
I'd like to learn more about that. And if we could get rid of half of the plume would be advantageous.
That's why maybe you guys can have a better idea. What do you think?
Well, hold on, before we get there, I want to just make sure, before I forget about it.
Sure.
Tarek and Kristen, since you're listening, let's get this report posted on the city's website so people can have it.
Sure.
And the other thing is that I think it's important to remind everyone that everybody agrees, Tuso, Bar, everyone who's looked at it, our water is safe to drink. There are no present concerns. That cannot be stated enough. What we are talking about is preventing a potential future issue. There is nothing in the data to show that there are any concerns with the present quality of our drinking water. And I want to make that abundantly clear.
Yeah.
So what we're talking about, if we're talking about excavation or mitigation, we're talking about preventing future issues, not mitigating current issues with the quality of the drinking water. Mark had suggested when he talked to the council that he thought cleanup could be done for under $1 million. And I'm guessing, Chuck, do you have any idea if that's a rational number, or?
I really couldn't guess. I would say that seems awful low to me on what it would cost to clean that up, but I guess I have not sat down and put numbers to it, but it seems extremely low for the level of effort it would take.
And that was my thought as well, because I thought if we could do it for $1 million, then damn it, let's just do it in-house and not putz around with the MPCA. I would rather finance $1 million and hope that MPCA pays us back and know that it's just done and paid and cleaned up. But I don't think we can do it for $1 million. So how do we go about figuring out what it would cost.
Well, I think we'd have to get Mark back in here and see what technology he is referring to.
Yep.
You know, if there is something else out there, obviously there's new technology. What is he actually thinking? So I think that's where we'd have to start, is whether we want him in at the council meeting or separate committee meeting
Or working session.
or working session, right?
I would agree with that, because it appears now that Mark's hands aren't tied by the state of Minnesota.
Right.
So you're probably gonna get a more accurate.
We need more information, but at the end of the day, and I've been disappointed, and I know previous councils have put a ton of work in to get where we are, but the super fund should have taken care of this, and we've been blindsided from day one.
One comment I have, I could certainly, if the council wishes, I could see if Bar is willing to come out and answer questions. Now the council's having more time to look at the report.
I would think the more information we get, the better off we're gonna be.
I agree with that. One thing that I would like to know is there an independent college professor, somebody who's not in it for financial gain, that we could hire to take a look at this? I will say personally, I'm a little bit shocked by this commentary that Bar is in cahoots with the MPCA. I talked to Mark shortly after we hired Bar to do the study, and he said that's exactly who I would hire. I'm glad you're working with them. And now we're hearing that they're just covering their back with the MPCA. So
Yeah, Bar, I think, was pretty taken back by that, because based on my conversations with them, they.
Yeah, they looked like they were.
Any of that involved, obviously.
right. So I guess I think it would be helpful to hear from Mark and to hear from Bar.
But not at the same meeting.
Well, or maybe at the same meeting, let everyone just yell at each other, if that's what needs to happen.
No, this is gonna be an Animal House food truck.
Time do we have?
Correct. But, I mean, I'd like to know, is there somebody,
A neutral
I don't know.
third party you're looking for?
neutral third party?
I know that the University of Minnesota up in Morris, in their science department, they do have, for the seniors, for their senior project, will take 6 months to come up with a report of the project. And I'm pretty certain that they would love to have somebody in their chemistry department or whatever it is to at least do some analysis on this so they can get hands-on experience, and they would be unbiased. It'd be a neutral third party. And if you would like, I can take the lead on that, because I still have some connections up there.
The other thing I was thinking is, in looking over to you, Bill, do we want to look at retaining counsel to file some sort of a lawsuit to force the MPCA to clean this up? Because I think that's going to be the only way of forcing their hand.
I mean, that's what was talked about years ago, was that, you know, really in the end, if MPCA is saying, no, we don't, this is not a situation under our guidelines that requires cleanup, and now we had an independent analysis that's basically saying the same thing, so now we're gonna be fighting MPCA's analysis and an independent analysis that both reach the same conclusion that it's not necessary. I think you're gonna need a law firm with their own experts to analyze this and have their experts come to a different opinion than MPCA and Bar came to. I don't know, you know, what the prospects of that are, but, you know, certainly we'd be spending some money on legal fees and expert fees in order to try to force MPCA to do something. I don't, you know, I mean, this gentleman, I feel like he certainly has some expertise, but no matter what he says or does, MPA is gonna say, he's a former employee who's mad at us at Sour Grapes, it's not reliable. You're gonna need to have a different expert when it comes down to it.
I agree with that, and that's my biggest thought. I mean, there was an editorial in last week's paper that said force the MPCA to do it, and I thought based on what evidence? We don't have.
I think if we were to use a different angle on the total body mass, because that's what happens when somebody goes to the hospital, that's why they take your weight and your height, figure out your total body mass and what type of dose you should get of what you're getting to be treated for. Where this report does not show what a total body mass of a 40-pound human, what this would do to them.
Well, I don't know the answer to that, but I'm pretty sure that when they determine the maximum amount, they're taking into consideration that there are small people. I don't know that for a fact, but I'd be shocked if MPCA and PCA don't do that when they set those levels. I believe those are set on the tolerance for the smallest possible person that could be consumed, could be drinking the water.
Right.
I'd be shocked if they're using a 200-pound male as their standard.
I don't know either. I would like to find out though.
The Department of Health, right now, our water is safe for
Right.
Joe
Well,
Junior or senior to drink.
And it is safe now, and it's been safe in the past, because when it came up, water safety came up in the past, I looked at what the effects of benzene are and some of the other things, and I looked for Paynesville to have some kind of large incident, something where, we're much, much higher than other cities, which is what it would be if this water were unsafe, that we would have this huge mass of people with severe anemia or with bloodborne cancers, and we don't. In some cases, it's lower than other surrounding places. We don't have an inordinate amount of people with the illnesses that you would get from benzene contamination, so it is safe now, but again, our point in the future, what's it gonna be? Just break loose, and we don't know. I think if we can get them to clean it up, then we should, but like Sean was saying, I think that's gonna take another expert.
So when I was talking to the oncologist down at the University of Minnesota, they said there's 3 determining factors of whether a person is predisposed to getting some sort of cancer. One is genetics, okay, the other is bad luck, and the other is the introduction to a chemical that can give way to any sort of cancer, whether it's glioblastoma, whether it's some form of leukemia or aplastic anemia, things along that line. That is just the 3 strikes. And one of them is if we can get into a better understanding of the safe levels of a chemical getting introduced, it would clear up a lot of questionable situations that we may have.
Well,
But
the
we
reason
sure can.
our waters are good now.
Yeah.
Is because we shut those wells down.
Right.
Yeah.
because
Oh,
we
yeah.
found it.
Yeah, who knows where we'd be.
So that's not affecting anybody at this time, and hasn't for, when we shut the wells down, it's been 20 years, longer.
1998.
Yeah.
Yes, before I
So-
was here.
But I just read in the report, the last detected amount of benzene in the water was in 2014. Is that close?
But it's very minute,
Minute.
very,
We haven't detected since.
I don't know, I still want to have it cleaned up.
I do too.
I don't know how we're gonna make them do it.
I agree. I think in a perfect world, cleanup would be best. But
Yeah.
forcing that action, I don't know how we force it.
Nope.
I would like to get an estimate on what it would cost.
Yeah.
Because if we think that realistically we can come in and do it for $750,000 or $1.5 million, and then we discuss, is it worth us just bonding it out and paying for it? Versus going through the fight of paying $100,000 to a law firm to sue MPCA. But I don't want us making decisions based on missing information. And I feel like we have missing information right now. I guess as I look at the bar report, they gave us 4 definite recommendations. And I think 2 of them, or 3 of them, we can implement right away. One is the analysis of the groundwater samples for the EDB using low-level methods. And that was how she talked about how regular detection methods don't detect that EDB at what's considered an unsafe level. So what would it cost us to send these things out annually, biannually, whatever the thing is, for high-level detections? And can we do that? Because if we do high-level detections and we see an issue, now we're going to have a stronger argument for cleanup. I think that's something that we should implement right away. I think the other thing that we should be doing is documenting the well sampling plan, the reporting and the response actions. And that's again, the Bar Engineers report was how MPCA or Department of Health is out here sampling. We don't always know when, we don't always know what the results are. I think they send them to you, Ron, but it's sometimes months later, isn't it?
Boy, it's always several months afterwards.
Yeah. So I think it would be nice if we could enter into some sort of agreement with them where they tell us when they're going to come out here, and then we get copies of the results simultaneously directly from the lab. And also that we have access to randomly do our own samples once in a while, should we choose. And then the ongoing sampling of the active supply wells. I think that's something that we can increase. Those, I think, are 3 that we can do right away. Expanding the Sentinel well network, well, if we want to drill more wells, we can do that, but that's going to take some time.
No.
But the rest of it, I think we should set up a meeting with our Wellhead Protection Board, Public Works, get Bar, get Tuso in here, ask all the questions and figure out where we go from there. And by that meeting, hopefully Chuck can get us some information on what Bolton and Mink thinks that cleanup might cost. And that might be educated further by things that Tuso has to say. And then maybe Bill can get us information on what a law firm might cost in terms of a retainer. Because with the report that we have, a report that was independently funded over MPCA's objection that says MPCA was right, they're not going to pay for a cleanup with just a friendly phone call.
No.
No.
It's going to take a lawsuit, and that lawsuit's going to require some sort of expert that disagrees with Bar Engineering. So I don't know, I don't know who that person would be, but there's got to be somebody out there. Mesh Besser.
I mean, well, in terms of the law firm, but even, you know, maybe, I don't know, maybe we could get some direction from the MPCA employee about what experts he might suggest that he thinks might agree with us. I mean, I think in the beginning, he thought Bar was good until he saw their report, you know?
Yep.
And now he's not happy about it, but, I mean, who would you go to and what would it cost? I mean, I think the starting point, rather than, I mean, I can look at law firms that might handle this kind of thing, but I think, you know, if you're gonna spend some money, you might wanna start with hiring an expert to do an analysis to see if another expert would actually disagree with Bar, or if it's gonna come out the same. I mean, I don't know how much money we wanna spend on a law firm if we can't find an expert that supports the proposition.
Yeah.
Unless one of these law firms has an expert that they use all the time, then that might be a possibility too, I suppose. But I'll look.
But I think it's important for us to know if we're debating, do we force MPCA to do it? Or is it something that we just do ourselves? What would the cost be, you know, if we were going to hire a firm? And I'm guessing 6 figures.
Then is there a precedent of a city that successfully sued MPCA to get it done?
Oh, I'm sure there is, but I mean, I don't imagine it happens very often, but.
And they probably have a lot of sick people, and we don't.
I have a circumstance that might make sense, is that the city of Fridley had an issue kind of like this, but they had the Bell pole yards at north of Fridley that they used to coat telephone poles and railroad ties with creosote. We're talking in the 50s now, okay? They just dumped the extra creosote on the ground and let the ground absorb it. But there was a grade school, Rice Creek Elementary, which I went to, that had well water. And there was numerous students later on in life who did get some sort of cancer through this. And they, I believe they litigated this but maybe contacting the city of Fridley to find out who they used may give a better direction than where we're at with this.
Now, would the city of Fridley were they suing a company or were they suing MPCA?
That one I'm not sure. Because there was questions on how many people had, in that concentrated area, had somehow gotten cancer along the way, and there was quite a few of them. Now, I don't know who they ended up, City of Fridley, what direction they ended up taking. I just know that there was some litigation that happened. But this was probably 10, 15 years ago. But I do believe that they would, more than likely, the city administrator would be able to give some information to help us out.
Ron, you live and work this every day and have been dealing with it the longest. Where do we go?
Well, like we said, I think the first step is to get them back in here and see if he, what, or who he would recommend. Obviously, he's got somebody in mind. Whether we want to do that at a meeting, or do we want to just give him a call and find out who his contacts are gonna be?
Can you give him a call?
Sure.
You and Tarek, maybe?
Yeah.
There were like 4 cities in the study.
Yeah,
Where are the other cities at with their,
one's Alexandria.
no, but I mean,
As far as I know, they're all accepting the report.
they're accepting the report and we don't want to pursue a cleanup.
Yeah.
Well, at the end of the day, I mean, we can't spend zillions of dollars and end up right where we are tonight. If that's what it is, that's what it is, but research and trying to pursue it isn't gonna cost us. But I'm not sure I'm willing to spend much money to give us the same result we have right now.
Right.
This is what it is, you monitor it, and if it don't get any worse, it's okay.
Right, if we knew that a cleanup was going to fix it and it would cost us $1 million, that's worth $1 million in my opinion.
But what if it's 50 million
Yeah, and
No,
it's
that's not
only a
even close.
possibility.
or 100?
Right.
Can't believe it'd be a mail.
That's a Superfund site then, because coming from the Fridley area, FMC used to have a big military operation down there, and that was a Superfund site, and I do believe the city of Fridley ended up somehow getting the Superfund cleanup to go through for that site.
Well, that's why I wonder how far away we are from,
Yeah, I don't
the
know.
original estimate to clean it up should have been in there.
Yeah, should have.
So they took it off the national priorities list in 1995? Okay.
Well,
We're not getting far.
we're not going to decide on much of anything tonight. I think, first of all, the 4 recommendations that Barr gave to us, my suggestion is that we start implementing 3 of the 4 of them immediately. We can't expand our wells right now, but the rest we can do. So I guess I'd like to see staff work towards implementing those by the end of the summer. And then, do we want to have a working session to discuss what cleanup would look like? And if so, Chuck, do you have any idea how long it might take you guys to come up with a rough guesstimate?
You know, it's gonna take a little time. So, it'd probably be a few weeks.
6?
Yeah.
Okay, so if we look at scheduling something out at the end of August, early September? Okay. Is that something the council wants to do? If so, do we want to invite other committees in?
I would agree with that.
Okay. Who do we want to invite in with us? I think wellhead protection for sure.
Public Works?
Okay.
That's it.
Environmental,
Let's bring environmental in, they need more to do.
they do.
I'm giving them some stuff though. Wellhead protection hasn't met for a few years, I don't think. Have they run?
Not since I've been here.
Yeah.
Not as a full committee, but they always meet in the spring. And their job lately, or most years, is just getting the water festival all set up.
Yeah. Good enough.
Do we want to get Bar Engineering and Mark Toso in here? When we have these meetings? Or would we be better having them separate?
Why don't we, Ron and Tarek, if you can reach out to Mark and find out which experts he was thinking we might employ. You can report back on that when we formally schedule the meeting at our first meeting in August, or our next meeting here in July, I mean. And then that can be decided then, who else needs to be invited to it. Okay.
Okay.
Tarek, understand? Ron, I saw you taking notes. Good idea of where we're going? Okay. All right. So we'll bring that back to our next meeting. I'm not hearing any motions that we need to make tonight, but we do have a roadmap of how we're going to figure out how to move forward. I think we at least know that we're using an atlas now instead of trying to just figure it out from nothing. All right, going on then, old business, police department, police secretary increase in pay, memorandum of understanding. Paul and Tarek, one of you want to talk to us about this?
Yeah, I've been working with the ASME representative. They submitted an MOU, and what they're proposing, instead of what was proposed here, which is the $2 per day, what they're suggesting is it'll just be easier to do a step increase, an immediate step increase, so long as this agreement is in place. And I think that's reflected in the agreement or the MOU there.
But her job isn't changing to increase, a step increase.
No.
Still the same work, same hours.
But to come up with an equitable pay, that's what they're getting at, is for the extra load. They're saying the easiest way to do it is just to do a step increase. And that's what they're proposing today.
Well, I guess we're meeting on Wednesday to start negotiations on the contract.
That's the police union though, she's not part of the police union.
Oh, that's right, okay.
Yeah.
Well, then forget that. In real dollars, what is the step increase?
It's about 60 cents.
Something cents, yeah.
60 cents, so, and it's, it's about double of the $2 that we had on the table before.
Well, that was a $2 per day, so
Right.
$8 a week extra.
Right, and this will be about 16, I think. 30 hours or
32
32.
hours, yeah.
Originally, we started at $30.
I'll just say 65 cents.
When does she normally get her step?
It's about $20 a week extra.
The steps are beginning of the year
First of the
for
year.
everybody.
So if we went a step now, would she get another step?
Everybody gets a step January 1st, everybody.
So it would be 2 steps. With the
She'll
new,
get an immediate step increase now. And then the normal step increase that happens in January for everybody, she'll also get.
Yep.
plus she'll
Can't
get,
prohibit that one.
she'll get what's on the agenda tonight, if the contract's approved.
Yep, so it's a set, I mean, if she were at a grade, or a step 3 right now, she'd be moving to a 4 on January 1. Instead, she'd move to a 4 immediately, and then to a 5 on January
Yeah,
1.
that's how it would work.
So with the contract with what Belgrade's gonna pay, this will still cover for that increase,
Oh, yeah.
correct? Yeah, okay.
More than enough, yeah.
Yeah, because what was proposed before was less than, or excuse me, was more than what this would be.
Right, yep.
Yeah, the city of Painesville will not be paying for this.
Now, has she been doing this job or it hasn't started yet?
She's been doing it since her secretary left.
And we aren't asking for back pay.
No, there is no back pay. And it hasn't, you're the first to propose it, by the way, so I hope you don't open up a can of worms there.
Well, you should have jumped on it when I thought it was a good idea. So in essence, we're kind of setting a precedent that if Ron's guys say, well, I go to Lake Henry, I should be at the next step. That's what kind of bothers me.
Was that it all discussed during the negotiations for the contract we're discussing later?
No.
No,
Nope, it did not come up.
they got their 3-year contract now. Or will.
Yeah, we have it next.
Yeah.
Well,
We sure have spent a lot of time on this issue.
we have, and I think everything that's been said has been said, so,
The one thing I don't think we did say is one of the reasons that this came up this way is on the payroll side of things. This is actually, and was actually a recommendation of Belinda to make it easier on payroll, just simply moving a step versus having the set figure like I had asked for and that the council had approved at that meeting.
That's my only concern, if any department that has a employee work for another entity, if that means they get an additional step.
Well, we can review on a case by case, and if it's paid
Yeah.
for by another city, then
Yeah,
that's something we can discuss.
and it's not in the new contract, so.
No.
No. I mean, the money isn't my issue, it's the precedent.
well, the council has previously reviewed and approved this. How did we want to move forward tonight?
Somebody needs to make a motion.
I am waiting for a motion. I am not hearing one.
Oh, I'll do it. I'll make the motion to do a step increase for the police secretary.
Soini made a motion to approve the memorandum of understanding between the city of Painesville and the police department secretary and AFSCME. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Soini, seconded by Thielen to approve the memorandum of understanding. Any further discussion?
Real quick, Sean.
Yep.
Just because Belinda was texting me, she had just mentioned too, some of this is because of the ESST and it having to be paid on every dollar. So I think that's where some of that, I guess, I don't want to say the ease of it comes in, but that's part of it too.
Right, so with the earned sick and save time, it's just easier to calculate payout of benefits if we're doing an increase of a step rather than increased pay. I think that makes sense.
Correct. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. All right, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, all opposed? Okay. All right, motion does carry. Right, on then to airport lease, Mr. Brown. Ron,
Okay, this is one of the ground leases, and this is a renewal of the contract. Steve has been out there for many years. And I think after this, there's 3 more that we need to work on, so this will not be the last one that we will be seeing.
perfect. So we're looking at approving the lease. Everything looks in order to me. Is there a motion?
I got a question.
Yep.
Okay, with the 15-year lease, $500 per year, is there any mechanism in here for inflation? Because in 2039, this is gonna look like one heck of a deal.
Yes, there is. Every 5 years, we can go up by whatever the
Okay.
inflationary rate is.
That's all I had then.
I thought that's what it was, thanks Ron for playing, I was gonna try and find the paragraph, but, yeah, and we did just do that,
We just did raise.
that's how we got to the 500, isn't it, Ron?
Correct. It is.
Okay.
I'll make the motion to approve the lease with Steve Brown.
Motion by Hersberg, is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Sweeney, any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None? Motion carries. All right, do we want to have a special working meeting, or is this something we want to wait on until our next meeting and we can discuss who else is coming?
I think that's a good idea.
I guess, do we want to have a working session to discuss things other than the benzene report? That might be a better way of phrasing this.
Nothing urgent.
Does anybody have anything for a working session other than benzene?
Oh, yeah.
What?
An alternative to the center point, issue that we're having with the availability of natural gas.
Let's see how far we get with the people we contacted first. If we get any more movement on that.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we've got calls out to the legislators and the governor's office.
Okay,
See how those pan out.
just speaking to one of the maintenance guys over at AMPI, in the fall, they have to switch over to fuel oil
Right,
to bring the pressure up in town for the residents to have natural gas.
yeah, no, this affects far more than just this new business
Yeah.
that wants to move in.
Okay.
Well, with the 8 or 10 new homes, they better get their act together, because I don't want to be cold this winter.
Me either.
Apparently 8 or 10 new
I stay
homes.
home all winter.
Apparently, according to Centerpoint, that's all we can grow by a year.
Yep, or maybe a salon too.
A salon, yeah.
Yeah,
That's,
that's exactly what they said.
I know, I saw that in the minutes.
But I mean, they got to give us enough to let us keep expanding, and
Yeah,
As long as we're only adding 1 or 2 coffee shops a year, we're fine.
That really helps.
don't tell that to Neil, he's okay with that too.
limiting the type of industry that can come in here, that's really tying our hands.
Yeah.
Well, I think we'll wait with the working session.
I won't say how I truly feel about it while we're on a recorded session.
Right.
Yeah, there are a few profane words that I'd like to use. All right, so we'll table that. If anybody's got anything for a working session, let Jennifer know and we can discuss it at our next meeting. The AFSMI union contract then, page 35. Tarek, Gene,
Yep.
Neil, who wants to talk to us about this?
I'll start us off and maybe Gene and Neil can jump in if they want to. I did go through the sheet that we went through, guys, to make sure that all the corrections that we had agreed to in the meeting were actually in this document. And yes, I can confirm that everything we agreed to at the meeting has been put into this document here. So what you guys read, is really what we kind of agreed to in our policies and procedures meeting with the union.
What changes between this agreement and what we currently have?
I was gonna say, do you want to say what some of the changes were?
Oh, yeah, well, obviously the big ones are money related, but let's see here. If we look at, for example, Article 8, 8.3, which is overtime pay, the hours of overtime will change from 8 PM, they'll start at 7 PM. And instead of receiving an additional $1, they'll receive additional $2.50 per hour actually worked. And then,
8.3 in our agreement here says 1.7.
oh, sorry, I'm looking here, 1.75. And if we're looking at Article 8, 8.5, which is the on-call, we've been going up $25 every year, so they want to continue with that. So it would be starting in 2025 at $300, and then go to 325 the next year, and then 350 the following year. And then, instead of employee paid additional $50 for the day worked, it'll be 60, and instead of 25, it'll be 30 for half day. And this is if the holiday falls on a weekend, employee shall receive extra holiday pay on the day it is observed, not the actual holiday. They incorporated everything from the past MOUs that we had last year, so you'll see a lot of changes, but those are just incorporating the MOU into the agreement. We are now saying, if you look at Article 9.1, paid holidays, we're adding Good Friday will be considered a 4-hour paid holiday.
And Juneteenth did, right? Or was that?
Juneteenth was already there. The next one I think that will make a difference is if you look at Article 10.2, which is a paid time off. We just changed the year of service. We kind of condensed it. We removed one. So now it goes 1 to 2, 3 to 4, 5 to 6, 7 to 8, 9 to 10, and then it's 11 plus. So they can get the maximum amount after that time. Incorporated language for ESST. And then on Article 10.7, which is paid time off accrual limit. We currently have the limit at 325 hours. We increased it to 350. And then compensation upon resignation, which is Article 10.9. We have it at 200 hours right now, and what we're saying is we're trying to bring it up higher, and it would be 275 in 2025, followed by 326. And then, of course, it will reach the maximum, which is 350 in 2027. Article 10.12, we're adding mental health days. Employers shall have up to 3 mental health days per calendar year. And unused mental health days shall not be rolled over the following year. Another big one that has changed is the health insurance. Right now, we're covering, as of this year, it would be $1,000. We're increasing it to $1,300 in 2025, kind of matching what the PD is at. PD is at $1,500 per year. So we're saying we'll try to get up to it, but not right away. So $1,300 in year 1, $1,400 in year 2, and $1,500 in year 3. Article 11.4, the wellness program. We want to encourage more employees to use it, so we're actually saying that we would increase it from 300 to 500, and we're not limiting it geographically to Painesville. I think they can participate anywhere, any place they want. A couple more big ones here, and then I think the rest is a lot of just added language. Article 11, retirement savings program. Increasing it from 600 to 750. And then another one that we kind of went back and forth with Gene, if you remember, was the bereavement days.
Yeah.
So of course they wanted quite a few bereavement days for children, immediate family, but we limited that to 7 working days. And then it goes down from there, as you can see in the schedule. And then wages, and this, I guess I'll stop after wages here. For wages, they're looking at quite a bit higher increase for year 1 and then scaling it down year 2 and year 3. And what we had in the previous contract was 3% across the board for the 3 years. But we did agree to 5-year in year 1 to kind of catch up with the previous inflation in the past couple of years. And then in year 2, year 3, 4% each. So those were the main highlights.
Can you talk about how we're moving to the DDA scale?
DDA scale is the pay scale, not the, whatchamacallit.
But we're consolidating all of the grades. We're going from 19 different grades, or 20 different grades down to 11.
Well, my understanding is that we're keeping the grades the way they are. We're not gonna condense them down. Was that your understanding too, Neil and Jean?
Yep. We weren't gonna change it at this
We're
time.
keeping the way it is. We're not condensing it.
That's not how this reads, and that's not how it's been interpreted by staff.
Okay, so then this needs to go back, because the way it should have been is we're keeping the,
That wasn't even discussed.
no, we just said that DDA, we said DDA scale remains the same. I have my notes here.
Yeah, it wasn't even brought to us.
Yeah, we just said we're updating it with the percentages for 26, 25, 26, 27, so,
Yeah, because page 21 and 22 is only 11 grades.
yeah.
Because I asked the question to staff last week if there was something that had been documented confirming which grades people were going to be moving to, or grades and steps, so that everybody knew what they were going to be getting come January 1 when this took effect. And my understanding was that there was something that had been passed around internally within the union so that everybody was on the same page. But if that's not what was agreed and
It never
discussed,
came to
It
us.
never came to, no,
Then
no
it-
discuss.
then
It
it
was
needs
never
to
even
go back.
discussed.
We just said we're gonna be incorporating for 25, 26, 27, the wage, the updated wages, which are the percentages that we agreed to here. So that was our understanding.
Signed off on
Because
And then I did have a question, section 10.9, should that not say that it's paid out up to X number of hours per year?
10.9. Yeah, it says here, employees who have accrued at least 200 PTO hours may cash out up to a maximum of 80 hours per year. Cash out of PTO may only be done in the months of June and December. So that was the language that was presented.
Right, so 10.9 is the compensation upon resignation. And it says employees separating from employment with the city of Painesville in good standing shall be compensated for 275 hours in 2025, 326, and all hours of PTO in 2027.
Oh, okay, I'm reading 10 point, okay, I was reading 10.9A.
Yeah, so 10.9, and I'm just wondering if that shouldn't say up
up
to.
to,
Yeah, up to,
yeah, it should.
yeah.
Because it almost looks, I mean, and this could just be the spacing of the agreement, but it looks like there's an extra space in there
They have a lot of extra spaces.
where
in the
up
agreement.
to was taken out.
Yeah, there's a lot of, I think those when they did the track changes, there's extra spaces in all of them.
I did get a message from the city treasurer, who must be watching us online, who said that DDA was presented in place of the safe scale.
Okay, we did not discuss the scale in detail.
No.
Okay, then I think this needs to go back. Questions need to get answered. Otherwise, I support it.
that'd be the only thing, because we really, negotiations went smooth. There was 2 or 3 rounds where we
They made their offers. we
made
followed.
offers and we rejected and made a counter, and we got together pretty quickly.
And we didn't want to, I mean, the reason why we didn't want to do the revised DDA scale, if you remember last time, was because of the additional cost to the city at the time. So, I mean, if we go to that condensed scale, there is gonna be a significant cost, which we're not ready to have right now.
And I know, I think when I talked to Belinda last week, she gave me a rough number of about $38,000 for next year. So we've been talking about going to this condensed scale for a while. I know we talked about whether or not that would happen at the time of the next negotiation. So I think it is safe to say that the union was probably expecting that it would be discussed. I was not surprised that it was in here. But I just think.
It was never really brought up.
No, it
Then
was not.
I think it just needs to go back then to make sure that there's a meeting of the minds,
Okay,
that everybody understands what's being presented.
okay.
Is the 38,000 with the condensed scale is what she's
Yes.
saying? Okay.
Not with the increase of the 5 and the 4.4. It's just the increase and the change in the scale only, not with the
I think it was.
percentages.
Maybe,
Okay.
before we meet, the treasurer could give us both sets of figures.
Well, she's the union rep, so she'd be there anyway.
I mean, I'd like to have both figures, what it is on the old scale 19 and on the new one at 11. See what the difference is before we start negotiating.
Sure.
Do those figures include the PD,
They should,
switching the scale?
yeah. I think
The
it's kind
PD's
of
on its own separate scale.
No, I know. I just know when we were talking about this before, I think 38 I thought
I
was,
thought it was like 50.
I thought it was a lot more than
Yeah,
that.
50 something.
I don't know.
So it's probably just the
No.
AFSMI employees,
This contract.
just the AFSMI.
Yeah, the 38 did not include the PD, if that's what you were asking.
Yeah.
No, it did not.
Okay.
Okay, so that will go back. Hopefully you can schedule a meeting for the next council in the end of the month here. If not, we'll bring it back in August.
Okay, we'll discuss it, yeah.
But
It shouldn't take that much to get that hammered out.
Right, moving on then to cannabis. And what do we want to do with this hot mess that the legislature has handed down to us? Bill?
So, I mean, I just, the issue came up about this early cultivation licenses, which theoretically somebody could get July 1st of this year. So I drafted an ordinance that addressed only that, and then about the time I sent it down, I saw that the Office of Cannabis Management actually came out with their model ordinance, so that's in here as well. I mean, that is a more broad document addressing issues beyond the early cultivation. And, you know, and obviously, you could do a moratorium. I mean, I have a hard time sometimes thinking about what the possibility is of a retail cannabis operation opening in a small town. I don't know, or a cultivation, but I guess it could happen, you know, I mean, it could be like but I think if it did, you know, it's likely to be like a greenhouse kind of a thing, I would think. I don't know. I guess I haven't seen examples of them, so I'm not really sure what that's gonna look like, but anyway, I mean, you know, the model ordinance is there, we could certainly run with doing something, to just tweak that for, to fit, and do that. Or if you think there's a possibility that we're just gonna get a grower and we just wanna address what could happen right now, that would do that. The moratorium issue, I mean, we've talked about moratoriums before, we have the right to do it if we want. But if we do it, we're supposed to actually study the issue and figure out what we're doing.
Well, I don't think we want a grower in town, in the city limits, I wouldn't think.
Like I said, I mean, if there's a grower that's in town, it's gonna be like a greenhouse, it's gonna be totally enclosed, it's gonna be,
Yeah, it'd have to, otherwise it'd be agriculture, right? I mean, we can't just
Well, it's gonna,
be having stuff bloom.
it's gotta be in the zoning agriculture.
Well, right now, if it's a greenhouse though,
Well, that's-
because
That's
the
what this
other,
says.
the
I
other,
think it allows it in I-1.
Oh, I thought,
because the other, I mean,
such businesses may only be located,
but what such business, like where?
all commercial, I
Yeah.
saw. A1 or C2.
So like basically wherever Blue Stem could be, this could be, right?
Right.
Or the old greenhouse. or
Yeah.
your
That was the idea.
But I
That
mean-
was my idea in drafting.
If it's totally enclosed and it's, I mean,
That's where we allow greenhouses, so that's why I did it there. It would be either an ag or where another greenhouse would be allowed, but we don't have to do that, but that was.
Has the state got some jurisdiction and licensing?
Yeah, they gotta get a license from the state before they can come to the city for a license, right?
I just can't see anybody with any kind of business savvy thinking that they're gonna make it off of a greenhouse in the middle of a city this size anyway.
Probably not.
So
I
I
would,
would.
I would think.
That would be my wish.
They'd be looking for a huge facility that would probably require more natural gas than they can get here.
That's not a concern, is it?
And
Throw in
like,
a few more coffee shops.
and light.
Well, you're gonna have to have heat if you're gonna do it year round.
That's
Yeah.
Yeah, but most of those heat are heat lights, so it's gonna run off electric, not off of gas.
Well, we do allow solar gardens.
So do we wait till somebody wants to
Lights, they're grow lights.
pursue this and do an ordinance, or?
Well, but if somebody wants to pursue it and then we
I
kind
don't know
of
that
build the
girl that's put
ordinance
up that
around
much cheaper.
letting them or not letting them, I don't wanna open up that can of worms either.
I mean, that's,
But how often is this gonna change though? Seems like the state comes up with a different plan every other.
The state doesn't even have a plan.
Yeah, I know.
All right, hold on. We're gonna go one at a time here.
Okay,
Kristen's got microphones, she's trying to take notes, we're not gonna give her an aneurysm. So we're gonna limit it to one at a time, hopefully no more than 10. I mean, I see it, we can either do a moratorium and actually study it, or we can enact something now. We've got a model ordinance, we have what Bill's drafted as probably a better ordinance than the model.
And this is just for cultivation, right?
right.
Right, okay.
Here's my fear, is how the legislature has done this, cannabis stuff, is you either get on board with the cannabis, or we force you to get on board with the cannabis. We're gonna drive the train past you, lasso you, and pull you aboard.
yeah.
So, I guess my thought is, why don't we buck the trend that's in central Minnesota and say, bring it on. Your cannabis cultivation business is welcome here. Because the alternative is we say no, and then 6 months or a year from now, the legislature's gonna come in and say, too bad, so sad, open your doors.
Yeah.
Get the business in, get it in now, and then we can at least reap that tax revenue from it.
Well, if we get the business, I mean, like I said, we're small.
Yeah.
We may not even attract anyone.
And I mean, yeah, what options would we really even have for a space that would be available for that operation?
But it's not a bad idea.
But, yeah, I don't think it's going to be a huge problem. I don't think we're gonna say yes to this and then suddenly we have, 27 people
Or
who
5 or 6.
wanna have, or 5 or 6, or even 1, honestly, because I guess with Blue Stem going out of business, it does open up that space over there, but I don't know.
Isn't it legal that they can grow so many plants on their?
I think you can have 4,
12 or
right?
something?
Is it 12 now, or was it 4?
That keeps changing.
It used to be 4. I can't keep track of the.
Yeah, it
consistencies.
depends upon whether it's a mature plant, an immature
Yeah.
plant.
Lord.
Give it a week, it'll change.
Yeah, well, and that's, I mean, it's so hard to know what to do right now because it might be different tomorrow, so.
I'm okay with doing an ordinance so that we could monitor it.
Yeah.
You have to check with us and everything else.
Why did the county do the, yes,
Probably pressure from individual cities.
That, and I don't think the county attorney's office is a huge fan of legalized marijuana.
I think you'd be right.
well, there's a couple others of us also.
I know, and
I'm fairly confident most in law enforcement are not for it, but
I just think that, I hate the law. I think it's terribly written law. I think it's woefully complicated. But what choice are we going to have? Do we fight it and then let the heavy hammer of the state come down and force it upon us? Or do we get out and just embrace it, knowing that it's coming no matter what?
But I think when it comes to the business doing the cultivation, we're required to have a dispensary. But I don't believe we're required to allow a company to come in and actually be the facility to grow.
Not
I mean,
now.
everyone's talking about where it would go. Any business owner that wanted to start it and start a business for cultivation, any number of our commercial lots that fit the criteria, they can put it up.
I think I'd rather have a cultivator than a distributor.
But we can restrict the cultivator, we can't restrict the distributor. My concern, and obviously, my concern on the public safety side, but we have a community that is, we're gonna have 2 conflicting entities coming at each other. We have such a high recovery center or population within this community, with the recovery center in general, that these things are gonna start clashing. As the head of public safety, my personal opinion is what we can do to minimize some of that clash. We're not gonna be able to stop a dispensary from coming in. But what we can do to minimize that potential impact, I really think the city should That's just my 2 cents from the public safety side.
Well, Bill, is there anything that would prohibit us from changing our zoning ordinance to limit cultivation to only ag?
No, I mean, we could do that. And Paul's probably right. We probably don't even have to allow cultivation of cannabis in the city. I just, you know, I mean, the people that cultivate it though, they can't sell it to anybody. So I don't know. I mean, I get it. Just the idea of it being around, you know, is going to be offensive to some people, and maybe it is to the treatment community. I don't know. But, you know, I mean, I think most of the people that are in treatment for issues other than cannabis, and, you know, but I get it. It's all a kind of a hot soup. I don't know. But
It is, but there's also only so much that we can do to, I mean, this is legal in this state, it's legal, you know, it's not going to get any tighter, it's only going to get looser, these restrictions. And if someone is struggling with addiction, they're going to be faced with it in this state no matter what. And, you know, there's only so much as a city that we can do to mitigate that, so, I don't know. And again, I mean, I don't know the ins and outs of, you know, they can't sell it to other people, they have to sell to a, you know, company that makes this. How much are they really going to be able to grow in the city in a greenhouse? I can't see it being worth it to anybody, so I don't know, I feel like it's kind of a moot point to have a commercial operation downtown Painesville.
Remind me, do we have one ag district or two?
I think we just have one. It's either ag or it isn't.
I think the only ag that we have anymore is north, but I'm not 100% sure.
But as far as classifications, it's just,
Yeah, just A1 agricultural, yep.
well, do we want to create an A2 that allows for cannabis?
It's getting too complicated then.
Is it?
Yeah.
Because if everything comes into the city then as A1, we have a choice then, do we rezone this to an A2?
Oh, yeah, then we wouldn't have to rezone it. I don't know.
Right.
But can you create a zone or an ordinance that says you can only put this in A2, by the way, we don't have an A2?
Yeah.
Spot zoning.
We can put it in A2, and as long as there's a mechanism for creating an A2,
I'm just asking.
Just a simple yes, no is easier.
yeah. I don't know,
Clever.
we've discussed the concerns, I think ad nauseum. I understand the public safety concerns. I might not agree with them, but I understand them. I just think that this is coming one way or another, and we can either turn sideways and buck the waves, or we can just,
Get a jump on it, at least we know where we are.
that was better than what I had. We could bite the bullet, grin and bear it, and just move on.
When I read what's in the model ordinance, it leads me to believe that local government can only restrict time, place, and manner of cannabis businesses.
Retail,
Which,
retail.
oh, it doesn't say that, but,
That's how it looks though.
okay.
That's what I thought.
Is this something, so if we say that we're not going to allow it in the same place we would allow a greenhouse, are we opening ourselves up to legal issues there? Or not? I mean, you know, can somebody come and say, well, you let this greenhouse sell here, those are legal plants, this is legal plants? You know, is that anything that we need to worry about, or?
Let's push it down.
I mean, we clearly have the ability to regulate cannabis businesses differently than other businesses.
Yeah.
So, you know, I think we can do it. The question is, can you altogether prohibit cultivation in the city? And I guess I'd have to go look at that more closely. When I read this model ordinances, my impression is no, but that might not, it might just be because the model ordinance isn't addressing that, although it certainly is discussing.
Well, for sure, I don't think we should do it outside of an egg zoned area, because it's growing plants.
Right, but you
Well,
could,
we allow growing plants outside of ag zoning
yeah.
That's true,
for other
but
purposes,
So
but
that's
you don't have
this
to.
is a different,
It is,
different
it is a
ballgame.
different plant.
It is.
we don't have to do what we do with plants.
decorative plant you put outside your house.
Yeah.
Well,
Cannabis?
Do you grow them outside your house?
why don't we do this? Stearns County has done, what, a 1-year moratorium on it?
They've done a moratorium, I think is one, I'm not sure.
I'm thinking it might end the end of December.
It does, it is.
Yeah, I think it's only
Okay.
till 6 months.
Well,
And that's typical when moratoriums are done, they're done for 6 months and you have the ability to expand it for an additional 6.
It's December 31st, 2024.
I mean, if we actually are putting efforts into figuring out how this is going to look, I'm good with the moratorium. But if we're just gonna do this as a moratorium so that we don't have to do it, then I think, no, let's just enact it now.
So I'm honestly curious. I don't just want to kick the can down the road. I really want to know what this would look like and what other cities are doing. So I'd be interested, as long as we're moving towards something, not just sticking our heads in the sand.
Right. Because I think if we do just stick our head in the sand, we're gonna get passed up by everybody else.
Then we're not going to have a choice because the state's going to come in and do what they want to do anyway. So
Yep. So,
I
Well, I
guess,
do want us to regulate it,
yeah.
not just let
So
it pop up everywhere.
well, Bill, could you present us with language for a moratorium through the end of the year? And then policies and procedures can work on the language?
We don't have anything else to do.
yeah.
Right, Neil? We don't have anything else.
I would think it could probably be really close to what Stearns County did.
I think it probably will, yeah.
Yes.
If it's good for them, I think it's okay for us.
We'll take a look.
And I'm good with that.
All right. So that will also come back for your next meeting. Anything else?
Get ready to ban that gavel.
What's happening with the fire
Yeah.
truck? Did they get anything?
Yep, that's coming at the next meeting as well, Jane.
People ask me all the time, that fire truck is still sitting there for a second.
You get to sell it.
Had a lot of people ask about that truck.
I don't get to, you get to.
What?
All right. We have our,
I think it's a good deal.
we have our May month-end reports under informational
Looks like it's
minutes.
in pretty good shape.
It's fair.
We're adjourned.
Your irritated dad face. Gut.